Hi, my name is Sam Garner and I'm going to talk to you about anxiety. Something we all have from time to time, but also sometimes it can become overwhelming and have a negative effect on our lives. Now, anxiety is considered a fear of the unknown, not knowing what is going to happen, having no control over a situation and worrying about a negative outcome. We like feeling in control and we like situations we can control. Feeling some anxiety is perfectly normal. A small amount of anxiety when we're nervous about something can heighten our senses and performance for a short period of time. Excessive anxiety that stops us doing things or leads to physical symptoms isn't good. Excessive anxiety can creep up on us over time, or it can appear after a traumatic event or loss. Whatever the cause, we can work on anxiety to stop it becoming overwhelming. We can reduce our anxieties so that our anxiety is at normal level. When we do feel nervous about something, that is anxiety, and our body releases a little bit of adrenaline and cortisol, which improves our performance. That's why some anxiety is good. It helps us prepare for the things we are nervous about. However, overwhelming anxiety can mean our brains go into fight or flight or panic freeze mode. Did you know actually that sometimes when we're anxious or stressed or we hear bad news, an automatic reflex reaction is to smile or laugh? It's called the friending response, where we somehow want to reduce the seriousness of what is happening. We still laugh about my dad. The time we rang him to say I've fallen off my horse and I was in hospital and I'd broken lots of bones, he laughed down the phone. But it is a natural reaction. Anyway, back to adrenaline and cortisol. Too much adrenaline and cortisol or prolonged exposure to adrenaline and cortisol damages our immune system, so we become ill. So we need to manage our anxiety for our health, our physical health. We are learning so much about the impact of mental health on our physical health and how things like unresolved trauma can be one of the causes of like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. I've gone off on a tangent again. Back to anxiety. When we have excessive anxiety, it can come with physical symptoms. Now, I've certainly experienced the feeling of ice flowing through my veins, sweating, palpitations, and just an overall sense of dread or impending doom. Maybe that sounds familiar to you. The funny thing is that in most cases, what we are anxious about might never have actually happened or not really happen that often. I've heard it said that 80% of the things we worry about don't actually come true. Our brain is just really good at reminding us of the negative, and then thinking about the negative becomes habit. Imagine your brain as a forest with millions of pathways linking different parts of the forest. The same with the forest and the pathways. The more we use the paths, the more well-worn they become and therefore easier to go down. That's how behaviours and thoughts become habit. The more we practice them, the more established they become and easier to use. But don't worry, there is good news. We can make new pathways in our brains at any time, no matter how old we are. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Anxiety is increased when we catastrophize, when we constantly think of the worst case scenario. And as I've said before, even if it's never happened. So anyway, enough of me talking about anxiety. Yeah, you're like, yes, Sam, I know what it's like, and thanks for making me feel bad. But listen, don't worry. There are lots of things we can do to support anxiety, and I'm going to tell you about them now. Phew. Sometimes our anxiety is linked to the worry that we're not going to be able to deal with the bad thing happening, or that we will look stupid, or people won't like us as a result, or we might lose our job and then lose our house, and so on and so on. I used to suffer from imposter syndrome. And if you haven't heard of it, imposter syndrome is where, despite all your experience, knowledges, qualifications, and so on, you think it's a bit of a fluke that you're doing the job you're doing, and that because you're doing it, it must be easy, and that people are one day going to find out you actually don't know anything and you'll be exposed as a fraud. And imposter syndrome is common. I would turn up to speak at conferences with Professor this and Doctor that, and then there would be like Sam from Paynton, and I'd be thinking, oh my God, this is the day everyone finds out I know nothing. I would worry that people would laugh at me, no one would ask me to speak again, I'd lose business, I'd be thrown out of my home, and everything would be disastrous. Does it sound familiar, these sort of thoughts? And of course it hasn't actually ever happened. Well, yet. To help me overcome the anxiety, I used an amazing cognitive behavioural strategy technique. I call it So What. Now, cognitive behaviour therapy works to challenge our negative thoughts and change them. So often we get caught up in the anxiety and the panic that we don't actually rationalise our thoughts. We just panic. So there are 5 steps to this So What activity, and you might want to write them down to use each time. Maybe put them on your phone. Firstly, you ask yourself, how often has what you are worried about come true? Okay, might be never, might be once. Then you ask yourself, how often has it not come true? Then you work out the success rate of it not happening. And then you make a plan for what you would do if it does come true. And then you reword your anxiety. So with my imposter syndrome, it has never come true. So I have 100% success rate of it not happening, which already feels better. Then if it does come true, my plan is that I would laugh and apologise for being rubbish, promise to do better next time, and offer a free next session. So I would reword my anxiety. Instead of saying, oh my God, you're rubbish and people will find out, I would say, look, I'm nervous, but my success rate is really good. And if it does come true, I have a plan and I will be okay. Now, doing that technique once isn't going to fix the anxiety. You've got to keep doing it to grow the new path in your brain forest and let the old one grow over. Each time you do the So What process, you will become quicker at doing it. You will believe it a little bit more and you will feel a little bit less anxious each time. Even now when I'm tired and I worry, I use this technique to remind myself it is normal to slip back a bit. So I'm going to try to transfer it to your scenario now. I know you all work on a really tight schedule and you don't want to let people down. So sometimes you may become anxious and worry about being late or behind schedule. Your excessive anxiety might be telling you all sorts of terrible things that will happen if you're late. But take some time to rationalise it. How often have you ever been late? It might be never, or it might be a few times. It might be more than a few times. Let's look at how often you've not been late. And I suspect this will be in the hundreds, the thousands, depends how old you are, but you have to base it on your whole working career. Then turn it into a percentage of how often you are on time. And you can ask someone to do this for you if you're not good with percentages. I bet your success rate is over 95%, or not far off. And if I was to offer you a lottery ticket with a success rate of over 90%, would you buy it? So then make a plan for if you are running late. Ring the office so they can contact people and reschedule. Sorted, it will be okay. If your success rate is quite low, rather than keep panicking, plan to think about what can I do to change that. It's about thinking rationally and not catastrophizing and letting the anxiety take over. So, how often has it come true? How often does it not come true? So what is my success rate? What will I do if it does come true? And how will I reframe it so I think differently about it? There are also other techniques we can use to manage our anxiety. Relaxation techniques are good. Do something regularly that you enjoy and relaxes you. The simplest breathing technique for relaxing is 4-7-8. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Or just breathe out for a longer count than you breathe in. It's something to do with the blood gases or some stuff like that. Meditation and mindfulness works for a lot of people, but doesn't work for everybody. I like a nice bath to relax me when I'm stressed. If you have something big you are working towards and it feels overwhelming, break it down into smaller steps. You don't train for a marathon by getting up and running 26 miles. You build up to it slowly, running a mile one week, 2 miles another week. Listen to me talking like I know how to train for a marathon. In my case, the way I train for a marathon is watch somebody else do it. Break down overwhelming tasks into small steps and plan each step as you do it so you feel in control and prepared. If something doesn't work, don't worry. There is no failure, only feedback to try it a little bit different next time or try something else. Another technique is to completely distract yourself by thinking of something that makes you laugh or smile. Have a meme that makes you smile on a key ring or in your car or on your phone. What makes you laugh and think about it? Watch funny things. I will always laugh at the thought of my mum getting in the wrong car outside Walmart when we were on holiday in Florida. I mean, goodness knows what that poor American man in the car thought. I mean, it's just hilarious. Think about what makes you laugh. It's difficult to feel anxious when you're laughing. Now, a lot of anxiety is linked to low self-esteem and the worry that people will think less of us or that we won't be able to cope when the worst happens. Work on your self-esteem. Believe in yourself and your ability to deal with what life throws at you. You're here now, so you've done okay up to now. None of us are perfect, but we are all good enough and lovable. Remember that. You are good enough and you are lovable exactly as you are. Believe in yourself. Every day, recognise the positive things you have achieved. Instead of finishing work thinking of all the things you didn't get done, remind yourself of all the things you did achieve. If you didn't achieve it, it wasn't a priority. Use kinder language on yourself. Don't set yourself unattainable targets or pick up sticks to beat yourself with. Don't dismiss your achievements. And also make sure you talk to people about how you're feeling. When we bottle things up, our brain can twist our thoughts and they can become so believable no matter how illogical they are. Talking our anxieties through with someone can help our problems seem reduced. And I know Bluebird provides a lot of support for you. A problem shared is a problem halved. So remember, anxiety and feeling anxiety is entirely normal. If it becomes overwhelming, rationalise the anxiety with the process, the so what technique, and also work on your self-esteem. Remind yourself how great you are and how fantastic you are for doing the job you're doing now. You're making a positive difference to the world, and there's not a lot of people who are able to do that. Thank you for listening.